I'm not sure where I was last at. The last time I was out here, like a weekend ago, two weeks ago. I think I was waiting on getting the new steering cylinder, which has arrived. I still need to, I got some plates cut for my buddies. This one here goes all the way across the frame. And this is what I thought would just put on the bottom. I got it longer in case I wanted to bend it up to so it's not full square channel underneath. I do need to bring this back. It's a 10-inch cylinder, so I need to bring this mounting position back at least 2 inches so it's centered halfway between both sides. I got my new steering column, and this has the the ports that I can put some standard hydraulic couplers on rather than these O-ring style. If anybody wants this O-ring one, let me know. I'd obviously sell it, but I don't need it anymore. I got the steering shaft and everything all set for the column, but I got to obviously make this fit through that little hole. That's not going to happen, so I got to cut these welds off. I'm not sure if I put this in or who put that in there, but it's obviously not factory. I got to cut that off and put it something to, either just drill out to 1.5 inches to get this on there, or I even thought about using this little lock collar. This is like 1 3/8 or something inside, so I could machine this out to 1.5 inches, and then weld this on the bottom side so I have a way to, not that it really matters, lock in place. Plus it'll be probably a massive pain to try to tighten that coupler when it's up in here. I'm not sure. We'll see. If anything, it just gives a little more meat for the shaft to ride on when it's not just sitting on that one little thin plate, an 1/8 inch plate. So I do need to work on that and to relocate that position. This arm's going to have to get moved down, of course. It's almost rubbing on my foot plate. Not the foot plate can't get moved or adjusted, but it needs to go down a little bit anyways. And when I just tacked it in here temporarily, I just tightened it up against that plate. So that plate is definitely not in the right spot, but I guess it'd be longitudinally, according to the track. Longitudinally, it's in the right spot, and I just need to extend this, and then I can verify that it rotates right and everything. So I got some work to do. I've been busy working on a little tech project for my wife. I built some steps for her pool. I did get the 3-point mounted on the back last week. That's pretty much all done except for plumbing it, making a pole hitch or whatever on the back. So I'm gonna get to work on trying to get the steering stuff sorted out a little more. So I'm drilling this out. I put one hole saw inside another one. I actually coincidentally had one that had a piece of wood stuck in it, so it centers that shaft on there, and it's pretty close to being what it needs to be. So at least it's not wobbling all over the place. And drill the center out. I tried cutting the welds, but I think it's welded all around too, so I don't know. So that cut out pretty close to being centered. Now I'll clean that up inside there so I can weld to it easy. I put that collar in there. Alright, I'll go over the lathe and turn out that collar so I can weld that on there for a little better support. Okay, corrosive or rust or something. So I've got that lined up. I got my Allen wrench, everything's all flat on my vise. I got the bore lined up using the steering column. So I should be able to tack that in place now. So I'm not gonna go crazy weld. Also gonna need to get a new sticker or stuff, but I'm gonna have to paint this all up anyway, so now I can put this in place and line up the steering column from the bottom and see if I can get it to position where I want it. Alright, so Going over this. Do have a couple of the it'd be handy if I hadn't dropped that other screw. And the other one was 3 inches above the, I think that's at 3 1/4. I could move it down more, but I'm gonna check the height because I am a little taller than some people. And I'd rather not be bumping my knees if I didn't have to. And I was really lucky to find out that the steering spline matched up. That was a very welcome surprise. I'm not usually quite so concerned about welding this, but a bunch of hydraulic fluid on the seat. I haven't touched this thing in a long time, so it's extra dirty. I'd rather not have my wife get mad at me. Yeah, I'm gonna raise this up because if I seems like it wants to go up all the way and it hits the frame of the tractor. So and raising that steering wheel up a little bit gives me the knee room I want. Plus it's going to give me more room down inside to do my plumbing work and stuff. So yeah, I'll just make a couple brackets off the back side here to hold to bolt that too, and I should be good to go for mounting the steering column. So I'm gonna get working on that. So I've got this laid out with 3/4 inch. I got that slate bevel on the back side just to line it up. This punch is significantly easier than drilling. So I've got the steering column mounted. I got that bracket in there and welded. Thing is, plenty of room underneath to access the hydraulic hoses. The column is wicked sturdy, so I don't have to worry about it. It's up just an inch higher. So it's not gonna look out of whack, but it's just enough to give me a little more knee room. So now I just gotta work on the steering cylinder. My back was killing me working on this thing a little bit, so I put up on the sawhorses to make it a little easier to get at this stuff. So I've got the front plate tacked in place, and now I got to put the rear in. And so the rear is now going to, instead of being angled, it's going to be squared in, which is perfectly fine. I just had a 1/2 inch hole, so I need to upgrade that to the 3/4. Not sure if I showed you this, but I had some of these sleeve adapters. These are 1 inch holes, so and these adapters aren't quite 3/4, so or 1 inch. So I have that 1 inch adapter to reduce it down to a 3/4. I mean, 3/4 is more than enough for this little tractor. So yeah, I need to punch this, so let's do that. So pretty effortless 3/4 inch and 3/8. This little press is pretty impressive. So I've got the cylinder in place, so obviously going to need to reinforce this a bit more. I need to get some longer 3/4 inch bolts to, I think the cylinder needs to be about here, but I need my things to be upside down. And and then I'll have to make a lower brace on here to come in and reinforce them. This one here, I have this one to get installed on there when I get some space to make it work. I guess I need to get some longer bolts before I get going on that. I'll trim this cross member. This is the piece that has the bracket for the link on the bottom, so it just doesn't have to be full length square to the end, so I can just trim that back, and that'll give me more room for my hoses. But I've got my 5 inch throw now, so it should have plenty of steering. Looking at the things, I've got the hoses from the travel control valve are hooked up to the front motor, and I think so. I've got one, got my pump, yeah, so this comes out of my sump into my pump. So my pump is going to feed this the pump is going to feed this valve here, which ins and outs are on this thing aren't. All right, so yeah, I believe this was gonna get mounted here. I've got, comes out of, pump goes into here, gives me my steering, and this goes to my travel control valve. That goes into the travel control valve, and I have the open port on the other side. So the return is gonna have to get back to this sump return. I still need to figure out a way to get the throttle or the forward and reverse hitched up. I was going to use this push-pull cable, so immediately I need to get a short line to go from the pump to in here, and then I need to get, so I'm probably just gonna, once I get that, I'll get this, maybe I was gonna mount like this. No. I'll mount it so it lines up directly, and then make a bracket to fit between it. This one here, probably drop that down to a smaller size, of course, to go in the bottom of the steering. I just have to figure out my forward and reverse control, but it's, so I only need like 2 lines to make it go forward and backwards on at least 2-wheel drive. And then once I go 4-wheel drive, all I'm just going to do is come out of this motor into the rear motor, and then out of that back to the return on the travel control valve. But for the time being, I was just going to get it running in 2-wheel drive just to get it fixed. I'll probably have to, my forward and reverse levers, I'll probably just weld the linkage up to here, something away from the exhaust, so I have control on that. I'll probably just keep it in low range anyways all the time. I tried to start my motor, and didn't seem to have power. The battery's probably toast. But anyways, getting closer. Get a couple hydraulic lines. Start getting some hydraulic lines for the steering. Get some longer bolts for the, so that way the cylinder is down lower, so when I'm articulate, it's gonna have a little bit of flex before it hits the step. So I've made a little progress off camera. I've got the lower bracket made back here, so it's pinned top and bottom. I had to go to the store and get some longer bolts. So that way I get room to clear when it starts articulating. I've got the front bracket made, so this goes in, it goes up the wrong side of this box. That box, I angled that so I wrote for my hydraulic lines. So now I'm just going to install this tack weld this lower one in here. So that gives me my top and bottom support on that one. And then on the other side, That lines up. That lines up right here with this joint here, so I'll be able to weld that easy. It's gonna get pushed over a little bit. Just weld it there. And then I'll be able to weld that right along the diagonal of that. And then I'll cut this one off to match on this side. So I'm gonna start working on it. Painted my floppy joint to go on the bottom. And I'll probably just weld some of these seams up while it's up in the air still. So my sawhorses are not liking the weight that this tractor has gotten. This one back here, you can see there's a major kink there. And it's definitely not straight across there. So I have a jack on the back. I've got a chain hoist holding the center up. And then I got another hoist at the front. So just in case, but I definitely got to get some of this weld up and then get it off the ground. Once it's back on the ground, I'll start stripping it down and stuff to start painting it, but I don't want to. Some of the easy welds I like to get done when I can right now. So I'm going to start working on welding and tack welding the front mate plate in.